this podcast is going to be a lot of spoilers in this podcast. It's Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Gamerington D. We are going to review Death Note. So before watching Death Note, I really didn't know anything about Death Note except one thing, and that is if you write someone's name on the Death Note, that person will die, and that's basically it. That's like the only thing that I know about Death Note. So now we're gonna talk about L and Light. We're gonna talk about L first because I was wrong about L because I think he was a Shimigami or he made a deal with a Shimigami. So I'm gonna talk about first L being a Shimigami. I think he was gonna transform. Like I'll be honest, I think he was gonna transform to a Shimigami. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for that moment, and when it happens, I'm not gonna be surprised. I'll be like, I know it, I know it, and I know it. He's gonna turn into a Shimigami. And nope, I was wrong. And that was strike one. And strike two is L making a deal with a Shimigami because I was honestly thinking that he already knew what is a Shimigami. I was like, all right, he probably had the Death Note before, or something happened. Like he already knows the Death Note too. So like I think he probably made a deal with a Shimigami, being like, okay, let's tell me who have the Death Note, and I'll give you something back. And I was like, okay, I'm waiting for that moment that he's like, I know, like, I know what have you been doing, and I know you have the Death Note. And I was like, all right, I'm right. And nope, that was strike two. So that's went over the bridge. Now we're gonna talk about Light. And Light, for me, he's like the most interesting character because, like, honestly, I was thinking about this. I'm like, I wondered when Death Note was popular, I wondered if there's like a debate about Light is a good guy or a bad guy or just an anti-hero because I think he did something good, but like in the later episodes he was doing some like questionable stuff. And I was like, I don't know, like because like I'll be honest, Light is just neutral with me right now. Like he's just neutral. And yeah, now we're gonna talk about the characters that I like and don't like. The characters that I like is the news reporter turned to a spokeswoman for Kira, or AKA Light. I kind of like her because like I kind of like that she dated Light before. I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. I kind of like because when she found out that Kira was Light, I was like, oh, that's amazing. Like her reaction, be like, oh, sweet. like she was like, wow. She's like, oh wow, all right, let's, I'm okay with it. I was like, that's interesting, yeah. And she's like, for me, I was like, oh, she's my favorite because like I guess the way she looks, I'm like, it's all good for me, all good for me. And the next character that I like is Misa. Misa, same thing as as the news reporter. I kind of like how she looks too, but the other thing that I kind of like about Misa was like she was funny. Like there's like a couple of episodes that like her facial reaction made me like laugh. I was like, that's cool. I like it. Yeah. And now we're gonna talk about the character that I don't like, and it's gonna be Mellow. And I'll be honest, I was happy that I'm not the only person who don't like Mellow, because I asked someone about like Mellow, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, people don't like him." I was like, "Oh, thank gosh." I was thinking that I was the only person who don't like Mellow, because I be honest, when I don't like Mellow, I remember perfectly. It was the first episode when Mellow shows up, and it was just like my first operation, or like my first opinion about him. I was like, mm no, I don't like him. Like he don't need to speak or anything. I was like, no, I don't like that dude at all. And that's basically it. And yeah, like later in the episodes that I keep watching Mellow, I was like, no, no, I still don't like him. Yeah. And now we're gonna talk about my review on Death Note. I do I do like it. I think it's a good anime, but it's not my favorite. because like I like my favorite is like Slam Dunk, Love Chinibyo and Other Delusion, and Domestic Girlfriend. And like Death Note, it's just like for me, it's just good, and then that's basically it. But like the ending was kind of like it was kind of for me it was predictable because I was like, okay, he's not gonna get away from it. Like Light is not gonna get away from like killing people with his Death Note. And I was thinking about that because like I was thinking about it like Scream because like usually Scream bad guys just like people gonna find out and they gonna die. So I was like, okay, Light's gonna happen like the same thing as Scream kind of. And I was right, and then he died. I was like, okay, it's a bit predictable for me, but yeah. Yeah. And this is like kind of I kind of wondered about this question. So this is kind of like a what if or what's gonna happen next kind of thing. I wondered who's gonna be the next Kira because like, all right, because like they can end it like how they ended right now, and then just like don't do nothing. Like I'm okay with that, but like I kind of wondered like, okay, someone who probably wants to be like the next Kira and like continue what did Light did. I was like, okay, maybe that will happen. That's pretty cool to think about. Like who's gonna be the next Kira? The other one is like, what if Light never died? Like no one found out what he did. I kind of wondered like, what will happen in that world. I'm like, okay, like there's like everything, like no bad guys at all, and like no one knows who is Kira is. And yeah, that's it for this podcast. If you like this podcast, hit the like button, and if you're a new person, hit the subscribe button because I will do more podcasts like this, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.